Hey, what's up? Sky Greg Gray, Dope Living TV Live. Look, the views that are expressed on this Dope Living TV Live are not necessarily the views of Dope Living TV or its affiliates. So I want to be the first, second, third, fourth, 15th, 30th, 500th person to wish you guys a happy MLK Day. Yes, it is here. And we are here to celebrate this day, this wonderful day. Because we getting it in. We getting it in. We want to celebrate and remember his legacy, as well as remember the dream. Talk about has the dream been realized, and what are we doing now? To immortalize, to make sure that everything that he talked about is still happening, or it's going to happen, or we're making it happen. Anyway, I'm rambling over my words. Let me bring my people in here, okay? Everybody say what's up to Gina. You're muted.
Hello, happy MLK Junior Day.
Something
It's a
like that.
beautiful day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, and says happy MLK Day to you. And we're gonna celebrate this man today. We're gonna celebrate him and talk about his dream, talk about his legacy, and see where we're at now from that point up to now. Okay, everybody say what's up to my guy Chuck, brother.
Hey, what's going on,
What's
y'all?
up, Jeff?
Everybody is here, man. Let's go. Let's go. So, today we are talking about Martin Luther King Jr. And we got to remember, this man was he was a regular person before he did all of the other stuff that he did. He was a Baptist minister, um, and he was an activist. He became the most visible spokesman and leader in the American Civil Rights Movement. Um,
hmm
he did so much to make sure
Yes.
we have the
Oh yeah,
rights, the privileges that we have. Okay, and we're still not where we need to be.
No,
We're still not where
definitely.
we need to be. But
no, long way away.
man, so
Yep.
so let's talk about it, man. He's again he spearheaded this civil rights movement because he wanted to make sure that we as African Americans, as Black people, and at the time they called them Negroes,
Mm.
had the same rights as everybody else. We were, back at that time, we were hosed down. We couldn't eat at the counters like everybody else. Couldn't ride the buses normally. Got to go to the back of the bus. We couldn't drink from same. I mean, how do y'all feel about that?
That was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking back to what our, and it's not that far back. We talking great grandparents, great great grandparents. So
Mhm.
it's not that far removed. And a lot of people want to make you believe that it's that far removed and you should just forget about everything that happened. But if you don't know your heritage, then you don't know you. And
Right.
that's something that they're trying to remove from the schools. A lot of what we know that is really history is not in the history books. So we need to teach our youth the real history of our ancestry.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that they are trying to make us forget and trying to make us stop talking about. I'll never stop.
Oh no, we can't stop. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that needs to be heard. And you think about it, and everybody say hello to Marcella.
Hey, Marcy.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on, Marcy?
You think about it, man. It's a lot of stuff that happened back then. And if you ask people today, could they have lived back then? I, they had no choice.
Mm-mm.
Back then they did not have a choice.
hmm
So we could say right now, because of the privileges that we have right now, that some of what Dr. King talked about has helped us and brought us to this point where we're at. But there's a lot that he talked about that we still have to have to have on our shoulders. Jeff, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. It's when we start really paying attention to the whole movement as a whole, you know what I mean? Did we really aren't all the way there yet, man? It's crazy because like we said earlier, it was only a short amount of time ago. It's not like this was like 300, 400, 500 years ago, and we still
Right.
having to fight. All this is still very much so recent. So when we start looking at what he wanted as far as the dream and what the vision was for all black people, not just one group of black people, but for all black people. I feel that that's something we still just need to keep living on, carrying on, and we need to stop doing so much talking with the mouth here, and we need to go ahead. We need to do some stuff with the thinking of the mind, and then using these hands to go put some things to work so we can manifest some things with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
So those are my thoughts on it.
Hey, Maurice.
Hey, Maurice.
Mo B.
What's going
Mo
on?
D.
Marcy, you got something you want to say about that?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off Gina and Jeff. We really need to educate ourselves to what went down with Martin Luther King and what his, like Jeff said, his dream and vision was. And stop just talking about it and be about it. Unite as a people, not just with the educating each other, but what are we going to do? Get out there and vote. Hold politicians accountable. If they're not doing what they say they're going to do and they're not working for our people, then vote them out. If you got to take someone to the voting polls and drive them yourselves, do that. Educate our youth, because they're the ones, they're our future. And they need to be educated, because like was said prior to this, they're trying to take it out of the schools. They're trying to sugarcoat and then get, I'm just going to use the word pissy, when we try to bring the truth out. They don't want that to come out. But again, we need to unite as one group of people, do what we need to do, and we can do that. I still believe should be able to do that in a nonviolent way. Stop fighting each other.
Everybody don't believe that nonviolent. They feel like
that's why I said,
the only time that we're gonna get anyone to listen is with violence. And if you look back at the things that happened in the last 1 to 2 years, that's what it took to get any movement.
Yeah,
that's what it took.
Right. That's right.
And that's sad that you have to
Resort
to that. Yeah, it's sad.
I myself, I mean, it seems like to me the other side gets really, like you just said, pissy when you open up those wounds. When you open up when you say, "Hey, this is wrong," you open up those wounds. It's just like you cussed at them or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they feel like we shouldn't still be talking about it. But
well, they feel like they should be talking about it, because a lot of these kids that are growing up now thinking that, hey, I didn't do that. My parents may not have done that, but my great grandparents did that. But you still benefited from the action. And that's the part they don't understand. How did I benefit from the action? You did benefit from, and you still benefited from the action. I've always thought, why do they get so upset when you open up that book? When you start trying to have that? I mean, we creep it open on TV and everything, and we just creep it open a little bit, and they keep it on for an hour, and it's all civil. I'm talking about opening it up and saying, hey, damn it, this is what you did. And this is the way it happened. The only way it's going to be straightened out is if this happens. And like you said, and it's getting militant, and it's getting very, very, very firm.
And it's it's a generation of people who don't really know or care to, as you said, read the history of what happened.
They don't want to crack up. That's why they're trying to cover it up like they did the last.
Look at some of those pictures. Google it. Everybody's into Googling. Google it. Look at some of the pictures of things that they had dogs on us. They hosed us down with
fire hoses,
burning us up.
But think about this. Think about this too. That was almost 40 years ago.
Right.
And look at where we are in almost 40 years. It's just like we're celebrating peanuts. We're celebrating crumbs.
Exactly.
We should be a lot further than where we are now. We should be able to go out there and get funds to open up our own business. And that's what King was pushing. They're trying to take a step back from what he believed in. They're trying to take a steps back from what John Lewis put in place. Everything is trying to be pushed back to square one.
But you got to remember, those guys weren't scared. They wasn't scared. Yeah. We got a lot of fear of that topic because it done told us that it's taboo. It's not taboo. It's the truth. But
they're trying to suppress the voting as well.
We got a lot of that going on in Tennessee.
So it's Dr. King did a great thing. He opened eyes, but there was nobody to
take the
carry
baton.
that baton. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
You know,
We
he,
got, you know, even if you look at Jesse Jackson,
He didn't
he's
take
not
it.
the representation. His
He's a
philosophy
mouthpiece.
is to make
Exactly.
peace, to find a way for everybody to be happy, and
Mhm.
only one side is going to be happy.
right. But
And you
did you
know,
all, go ahead, Marcia.
Maurice, you touched on a point. You said they're trying to instill fear in us. And pretty much it's working. And it's not just, you know, don't open up your books, don't read the books, but
Don't say nothing.
the justice system, they're still killing us and getting away with it. And the justice system, and I'm not saying the entire justice system,
Yeah, I know.
but they are still allowing for Black Americans to get stopped, to be stopped on the road, just driving while Black, not
Yeah.
doing anything. There's been, I was pulled over.
Me too. I know. I
Me
told y'all
too.
about that.
And, you know,
Um,
and I was like 2 cars behind pulled over for speeding, 2 cars behind a stop sign. I won my case, but I was pulled over for speeding and I had 2 cars in front of me, which meant I had to stop. So I did not blow a stop sign, but they're
Right.
still doing this all over our country. They're beating
Well,
we're going back
Well,
to
see.
lynching. It's almost like we're going backwards. And
using the law to lynch us.
it's the justice system that's allowing a lot of this. Some of the politicians, you hear the promises made, but once they get in office and money is being shown,
Yeah.
and
Gotta hold
Well,
that.
Well, the
We gotta. I
big
saw
thing
the.
is where's the accountability though?
Exactly.
That's the thing, because the thing
Exactly.
is, see, between the 5 of us on the show, you know what I mean? We talk about this, and that's not enough accountability
No.
between the 5 of us just being here. You know what I mean? We can raise the question and we spark the debate, but in terms of the real accountability being placed on the people who we vote in office, the people who go to these different rallies or different speaking
Conversation
engagements and
that we
such.
y'all had earlier today.
Yeah.
Oh, those kind of folk.
Yeah,
I mean, even in our own culture, we've got that crap happening, and that's just as bad as white folks hanging us. I mean, that stuff that they pull in that that y'all were talking about in the chat offline, that's just as bad. I
Yeah.
mean, and you got to think
Definitely.
about some of that stuff. I mean, we had a whole city, basically the first Atlanta, first chocolate city, and I don't know how. I still don't know how. I think about this day. Well, maybe there was powers that being was trying to ruin it. It's going to ruin it for all of us, and they did, or we ruined it ourselves because we were greedy, or somebody was greedy. Somebody's pocket got juice.
But you know what I think? I think now that with the time that we're actually in, now we really don't. We can kind of have a fear of somebody coming in and messing up something that we do. But now there's so much information out there, man. So much information, so much knowledge. Now you find a lot of brothers and sisters actually learning how to work within the law.
Well,
And
that's
so
what
they
this
can.
new Black Lives Matter thing. I really think they're going about it the right way. It's you got some factions that don't do what they're supposed to do, but for the most part, they do the peaceful marching. They educate each other, and they do what they need to do. Some that I've seen, some of the Black Lives Matter rallies that I've seen, here locally have been good. But then again, all you need is that one that's messed up. They had that one that was messed up, and all of them get blamed for it. All get stained for it.
But again, with that, the marching and all of that stuff, and it's been done. Okay, so how effective is it now?
Exactly.
Well, they have to learn. They have to learn that stuff again. See,
Well, hold on. I mean, but do they but they're trying to learn it, of course. But you got one person here and one person there. Back then, we had the person. We had Martin Luther King. Giving
Malcolm X or whatever,
doing his thing and getting out there all the time.
I agree.
Not just when something happens, all the time. He was out there all the time. Throughout his whole fight for the equality, he delivered a whole bunch of speeches that got a bunch of people to listen.
Well, they had somebody to call.
Hold on. But he all of those got lost from that one speech, the "I Have a Dream" speech. All right. So he had a bunch of other speeches that were very, very powerful. But that "I Have a Dream" speech, which is a very powerful speech, he was able to inspire, the entire nation, and a lot of his speeches lost some of its impact because of that one. Okay, and that's all everybody refers to. But he said a lot of good things in some of those other things, other speeches. So my thing is this. Um, there were some that championed some things afterwards. See, the impact is what I'm talking about. You had the Rosa Parks, you had the Angela Davis, you had all of those people who made huge impacts. We got somebody going up there speaking
Panthers.
and not you know, they're speaking for the moment. They're not speaking for the whole situation. You know what I mean?
And the marches aren't totally what made the turnaround.
Right.
It was the persistence and the going to different people and demanding things. It wasn't just the marches. And that's all that they're trying to do these days is march and make a change.
But you know what? You had the sit-ins as well. And that's what when I brought up earlier, that we need to unite as a people, not just the one, not just the two, and not just a few people at certain little rallies, you know, organized. I don't know who, you know, would do that or who can do that. Anyone, yes, can pretty much do that, but you got to bring the crowds together and let them know, hey, we're not, like you said, you have to be persistent. He constantly did it. It's not that just that this one thing happened, so we're going to be all going to do these little rallies. And I'm not saying little or making light of them, but we're just going to do a rally because this just happened today. And then once that's over, everything settles down. We have to unite, and it has to be persistent.
And you have to continuously do this, okay?
Yeah.
And I was looking through some of his speeches earlier today, man. He had one when the Montgomery bus boycott came with Rosa Parks. He said this, and I'm quoting this. He said, "Now let us go out to stick together and stay with this thing until the end." It means sacrificing. Yes, it means sacrificing at points, but there are some things that we've got to learn to sacrifice for. And we've got to come to the point that we are determined not to accept a lot of things that we have been accepting in the past.
Exactly.
You know what?
That's the big thing right there.
When you talk about persistence and somebody leading the charge, we do have some individuals, but you know, there's certain things that they're focused on. Look at Stacey Adams. I'm sorry, Stacey Abrams. It's because of her that Black folks down there came out and voted and made a difference, and now they want to say it was a big lie and a cheat. But she got out there and she pushed and she pushed and she made sure that people got out there and they understood, if you don't make a change and get out there, we're going to be in the same situation that we've been in for the last 50 years.
And something else as a people we need to do, stop talking about Democrats, Republicans. My mama, my grandmama voted Democrat, or my mama and my daddy voted Republican. And look at the policies, look at the policies, look at the background of the people that are running, look at their track record. And vote. If you got to vote individually, don't just go there and say, I'm going to be just all Democrat, I'm going to be all Republican, because both sides actually have good points in different areas.
And have done the job.
Correct. And, you know, and have worked together. Look at how we as a country are fighting so much and butting heads. Watch that, learn from that, and vote appropriately when the time comes. If there's someone in there where you see one party or certain politicians are trying to do something that's good for the people, all the people, that's who you want to go with. Don't just because, well, this one did this and I'm, you know, or listening to what others are saying. Do your own research.
Well, let's call it the way it is. Let's call it the way it is. We voted for Biden because he was the lesser of both evils. We did not vote for him because we thought there was going to be change. We did it because we wanted Trump out of the way, so now we can maybe formulate the type of people in there that we want. We had to make that choice in order to move forward because we were steady going backwards.
Well, but in saying that, Biden did make some bold steps in who he appointed and who ended up in with him, parts of his cabinets, including females and people of color. So he made some pretty decisive moves, even though it might have been, you know, a move that he might have got a smudge or some dust thrown up on him. Now, you can't discount him, you know, because it ain't happening right now. But he's going to be effective, and he only could go as far as you know, the people working with him is folks will let him. You
And
know.
see, this is my thing. See, we always be so wrapped up in government, okay? We're always wrapped up in government. We always wrapped up on in certain policies and what the policies pass. What can they do for us? But the thing is, what we need to realize is though that we have the power to do things
Yeah.
and to make our own types of advantages
Yes.
so that our people can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not like we're in the white communities going in and saying we're gonna plant this here and we want your resources. No, we need to do certain things in our own communities so we can have our resources for ourselves.
Absolutely.
See,
But
we keep wanting to branch out and go left, right, to and fro. But the thing is, it's people right in your cities, in your black communities that want to help you, but we do not want to take advantage of that.
Well, Jeff, saying that, you know, you have to also look at the other side of that, where there's people that we do have in the community that can help and won't help. Okay, we have people that a lot of people have the mentality that I want to get better than this person over here, so we're not working together. Let me say this real quick. In '65, Martin Luther King, he did the march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, to fight for these African American voting rights. Okay,
Putting it in
because we were lied to. Okay, and at the end of the speech, he used certain catchphrases. It was the "how long, not long" speech. Okay, so he said, "How long, not long," because no lie can live forever. How long, not long, you shall reap what you sow. How long, not long. Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. He wanted us to come together and use our power to make sure that we made a difference. And I think we're still fighting that struggle today because,
man,
you know,
I don't think that people know the kind of power that we have as
Exactly.
a black,
they don't.
Yeah.
as black people. I don't think that people,
As our
I
culture.
know the young generation does not realize it. I don't even know if they care much about it. But
Not
there
at
is
all.
so much power in what we have, but you can't bring that power together if you doing this over here, you doing this, you over there, you over here, and it never comes together.
We are our own worst enemies.
Yeah,
okay?
that's why I say unite. We need
And
to
I think-
unite.
Together, we can't do anything on a huge scale unless we come together. Not just for the moment, though. It has to be a continuous.
Yeah, it's got to be consistent.
Continuous.
Hi, Mary.
But you know, the biggest thing is bringing
Love you, Mary.
us together, and like you said, being consistent, and us realizing, like Gina said, how much power we have in our culture and how our culture affects the rest of this country.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. How can we transform the thinking of people to say, well, hey, look, I see that you need my help. Let me help you. And in turn, let's grab somebody else and let them come and help. And we all come together. You know, we talked about the new Black Wall Street. You know, is that the answer though?
You know what?
It's already going on, Greg.
But is that the answer? Is it going on? How quietly is it going on? It's not going on. It's not making noise.
It's not making noise because of where and how it's happening. A lot of people, or I'm sorry, we have to move sometimes stealthily. You know what I'm saying? In order to get things done. So,
but
and especially in the
go ahead.
Especially in the financial sector, we have to move stealthily, and it's word of mouth, getting those little nuggets around through the community and businesses that are going to use these services, because you can lose your face because of the powers that be out there.
Because we're not helping each other. But as we move stealthily, they're not moving that way. Okay, they're moving visibly, and when we're ready to come out, they're already ready for us. They're already ready to stop us. They already have all of this stuff in place. They're visible, and we know. All right, and there's not too much. I don't think we should move in silence. You know what I'm saying?
You know what my thought is? I believe it starts with educating.
Yeah.
Educating our youth.
Yep.
Putting things out there so they can learn about their heritage. I watch Hidden Colors, and that should be something that is shown in every African American classroom. every
yeah.
classroom, because it does not show indigent Black people.
No,
It
it
does
doesn't.
not show beat down, broke down people like, you know, the history
Roots.
books are making us think it is.
Yeah.
They had some kings that were Black. They had some rulers and emperors that were Black. So it's not, we're having always just a whole race of indigent people. But that's what we were taught. Some of the people that I saw that they talked about, I had no idea some of the things that they did or the fact that they were Black. I never knew that. All my life, I thought this person is a white person. This person, this white person did this. And you go down and you listen to those things and you hear about, you know, the Statue of Liberty that was created by a Black woman, and there's chains on there. How many people knew that? I did not know that she got chains on her feet.
Yep.
I did not know that.
There's
Big
a lot
Ben.
of stuff.
I did not know Big Ben was named after Benjamin Banneker, who created the clock.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If we can get it in the schools, and even if it's in the private sector of schools, because, you know, they're trying to keep us from doing that in the schools. So there has to be some kind of program that's going to teach our youth about their heritage, and that, no, you are not a beat down society.
Right.
And to
And you know
piggyback
what?
off what Gina's saying, that's what I believe too, that educational part of it. Because if we can't teach the youth about where we came from and our past history, all they're going to do is go ahead and latch onto what they see now. And they're going to think that that's the way. To know that we were high ranking in mathematics, creating these systems, different languages, all these different things, high in spiritual way of thinking, you know, high in all of these areas, and to be dumbed down and diminished to now,
Or
to
try
today.
to be erased.
Yes, or trying to be erased, because that's all that is. Because now, when even you look at the rappers and you look at the singers and you look at different stuff that's going on now, that is what they're using to define our culture.
Right.
When that was not the thing in the beginning to define our culture. We need to go back in order to understand how we can effectively do the change for the future and move forward.
Hey, I want to shout out real quick to the Mfume, who's a part of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. They're checking us out, as well as LinkedIn, YouTube. Thank you guys for supporting us and watching the show. We appreciate you guys. You were going to say something, Marcella?
Yeah, and like how you were saying about educating, that needs to go also into the entertainment field. Like kind of like what Greg was just saying about the music, just like the movie Hidden Colors. I didn't know any of that until I saw that. And that, so stop making the movies where we're selling drugs, we're twerking, cussing out each other, the husband is leaving and things like that. And some of that, you know, yeah, that's out there, but start doing more movies and documentaries so that it's something that we can really see, like the Hidden Colors, be like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute, that was us? And the things like what Jen was talking about Big Ben, the clock, the Statue of Liberty, and it's going to take us.
Shoot, air conditioner, traffic lights.
Pardon me?
We invented everything.
We invented a whole lot of stuff that people
Everything.
don't realize.
Exactly.
And bring that out.
Yeah.
Do those movies about what African Americans, the accomplishments, not our failures, but the accomplishments and the true stories. Not, you know, oh, well, this could happen, because things can happen, but what really has happened, and then to what we can do. Because right now, kids are, their focus are the televisions, the iPads, the phones, iPhones, and things like that. So if that's what we got to do to put it on there for them to see it, and you might have to make it cutesy or something to bring their attention to it. But these are some ways, I think, too, that we can educate versus just reading a book or something, because a lot of people wouldn't even think about opening a book to try to educate themselves. And for the parents to fight, go to the meetings, the school board meetings and things, fight to bring these actually into your school.
Hey, I want to keep make sure that we keep you know, and this is a great discussion, but I want to keep saying a couple of things about Martin Luther King
Mhm.
as we speak. I mean, all of this deals with the struggle that he wanted us to
Yeah.
get through. Okay,
Mhm.
he did a speech talking about sending our black soldiers to Vietnam. Okay, and it sparked a great debate. He gave an anti-Vietnam speech where the country, when the country still supported the war. Uh,
Yeah.
to quote him, he said, "We're taking the black young men who had been crippled by our society and
Mhm.
sending them 8,000 miles away to guarantee liberties in Southeast Asia, which they had not
Can't be.
found in Southwest Georgia and East
Yeah.
Harlem." You know, so
Mhm.
they were and they still do the same thing, but but now people are gravitating to go. They want to go. You know, but I've always been this guy that's like, well, they didn't do anything to me, so what am I fighting for them for? You know, there's a
That's
struggle,
what Muhammad Ali.
there's a fight here. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
we have to sometimes understand our priorities. And the thing now is, okay, we were born back then. Some of us were, and we've seen something. I wanted to ask each of you guys. I mean, Jeff, you may not have seen some of the stuff that we have seen. Okay, but when Dr. King was shot in 1968, I think it was
I
April
remember that day.
4th. I think it was.
I remember my mother crying, sitting on the porch crying.
My
I
mom was
remember. I
crying.
remember that exact
Mm-hmm.
time.
But we were like 7, 8, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did you guys feel when that happened? Everybody was crying in this night. We felt like we didn't know the man, but we felt like we did know him. How did you guys feel?
Well,
Now, even you, Jeff, how did you feel when you found out that this man died doing what he did?
I think the biggest thing, with us is that we had a leader that was somebody we could go and basically get a letter to him, a telegram to him, and say this was happening as a group. Like you said, the uniter people, the person that pulled everybody together and said, "Hey, we're gonna fight for busing, and all this other stuff. We're gonna fight for voting rights." We had somebody go there, and he wasn't scared to jump out there and do it, have his speeches, and walk up to the door, and that's wrong. We need to change it. That
Right.
that's what that was the big thing that my mother and them said. We lost somebody who spoke for us, who helped us when it was time
Mhm.
to help us. But then we had the naysayers that came up behind us. After we don't need nobody to speak for us. We speak for each other. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. You need somebody. You need. That's what lawmakers, especially somebody with a. He was a doctor. He
Right.
had his PhD.
Right.
So he was not just any old body that came off the street.
Hmm.
He had education.
And you
So,
know what? He was put in jail,
Ooh,
I don't know, 20, 30, 40 times.
I
He
don't know.
wasn't afraid to go to jail.
Nope.
He
No.
was not afraid of it. And we don't have people that have that courage.
Nope.
Yeah. He was put in
Exactly.
about 30 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing, Jeff.
How I felt about just learning about the whole thing. You ask questions when you're a young kid. You know what I mean? Like, well, why would anybody want to assassinate somebody who's trying
Just
to
good.
effectively create some positive change?
Right.
Not doing anything negative, just trying to shed light on the truth. And as I got older, I studied more. I studied more, and I found out that there were more people in different sectors and areas around the time of the civil rights movement when Dr. King was the one who was fighting for the injustice. He was the main one on the front lines that
Hmm.
made the voice, but there were a lot of people too
Yeah.
It was
behind the scenes
branches. Yep.
that branched off of his
Hmm.
movement as well. And it's wild and crazy because even more black people died while
Yeah.
that was going on as a result of just the movement fully in itself. And that's what kind of ticked me off and tripped me out. The fact that based off one man had a notion and was able to bring so many people together. Now, when other black people are starting to be free thinkers and now know that their rights are getting violated too. Now we talking music,
Hmm.
business, and we talking about the whole nine of these
Pop
spectrums in
culture.
these realms, pop culture,
Yeah.
everything. And now black folk are trying to go ahead and do things for themselves based on now the fact that they see one man working it, and then they're dying in the process of them working it while Dr. King is alive, or Dr. King goes ahead, gets assassinated, and now it just seems like a lot of hope has been lost.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. Greg, you muted.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that's crazy. I mean, that's a great thought or great comment, man. But you know, and we've said this earlier. I think right now we are not. I'm not gonna say in the position. We can still talk about it, but we got to get these younger people now to understand. They need to actually see what happened to us and not retaliate, but to create some action to make it better. They are the ones that hold the key right now. You know,
I think one of the
the song, you know, I believe the children are the future. Well, they are, and the future is now.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maurice.
I think one of the greatest examples was Barack. Believe it or not, Barack was an awesome example for a lot of black men, and a lot of those black men that were just sitting back in the cut, not really doing nothing until he got to be a president. And I think he was an awesome example of what you could do with that type of power. You know.
Yeah, and I think another example, and I've met Erin Gruelle from the Freedom Writers, but that's exactly what she did. She walked into a classroom of black kids that were failing and going nowhere, and she educated them by taking them out to museums to see the Holocaust, things that they had never seen before in their life. Because guess what? A lot of our children and a lot of our youth don't get any further than Gary, Indiana, or where they live. They don't see what's outside of their existence. And that's another stifling thing, is they don't see anything else.
That is the problem. That's one thing that I insist with my son is to get out of that city that you were born in. Go somewhere else and do something. Let me throw another portion of a speech. He was speaking at Stanford University, April 14, 1967. And this portion, I think, was very poignant. It said, "One America is beautiful for situation. Millions of young people grow up in the sunlight of opportunity." White people, he says in the speech. "But tragically and unfortunately, there is another America. This other America has a daily ugliness about it that constantly transforms the ebullience of hope into the fatigue of despair. They find themselves perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity." Right? I mean, he saw this. You know, we were, as African Americans, as Black people, as Negroes, we were looked at as second-class citizens. We that opportunity that he spoke of was for the white people. It wasn't for us. You know, we had to protest. We had to sit in. We had to march at that time in order to
lose your life,
visibility to it. You know, for people to say something. You know, you had people you had Lyndon Johnson, you know, in office, and Kennedy and all of them in office, and they weren't. If it wasn't brought up, and if it wasn't making a lot of noise, they would have let it go. They would have let it go under the bridge, you know. But it made noise. And then they because it was making so much noise, which is a conspiracy theory, they had him killed. All right. Malcolm X the same way, making a lot of noise. And Malcolm was transferring his beliefs over to nonviolence, but he was making too much noise. And who killed him?
The same people.
His own people. His own people.
You know, because they told them they had it. I mean, you know, it's just ridiculous. We had a lot of other people. You know, Chris talked about Marcus Garvey. You know, there's a lot of reasons why we should be in a better position than we are in now. But we get that momentum and then we let it go. And then
if you think about even way back when we were in slavery, we had presidents that were Black. Abraham Lincoln's mom was a Black woman, which makes him Black. So we had people in place that was vying for us. But then, like you said, Greg, when we move the pendulum a little bit, then it just stops. The ball is dropped.
Gotta oil that up, man, and keep it moving.
You know, I'm gonna go back to educating ourselves and our children. The day that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, I remember vividly. I was with my dad, my sister, and I, and it was raining out, and the radio was playing, and we had never seen our dad cry, and he stepped out of the car, and he was crying, and my sister and I were trying to figure out what did one of us do. And when he got back in, we were like, Daddy, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he said, Martin Luther King Jr. has been assassinated. We had never heard of him up until that day. But they said, my parents sat us down that evening and told us who he was, what he was fighting for, and more, we were kind of sheltered. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of taught us what to look for, what's out there. And that's when we started becoming educated to the wrongs of Black people as children. So we knew what to look for. We knew what to listen for, and start watching the news as kids, young kids, and seeing what's going on and trying to figure out, what are some things that could be done. My aunt marched with him. Our neighbor, Curtis Strong, marched with him. And they came and talked with us as well to start educating. And I think that we should start young with educating the kids so they can know, let them see what people did in the past and how people lost their lives for the rights that they have now. And then talk about what we can do now to start changing some things and continuing to fight for rights when they're young, so that it's not like you get older and it's like, well, that's something that, because I really feel that some of these young people don't believe it's real.
Now, that being said, now I'm going to throw a little curve in here, y'all. Mm-hmm. And, everybody don't like opening this box, but I'm going to open it. What about reparations?
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
We're the only race that doesn't have it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Everybody else got it. And I'm not just saying because of that, because it's due. It's been past due.
Oh, yeah.
Way before the Jews got theirs, the Japanese got theirs. I mean, it's been past due.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I know.
Greg, you muted.
I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I know there are people still out there fighting for it. And I know there are Black people that have received theirs in one way or another. I think it was South Carolina or North Carolina that gave reparations in a different way, through education, through small businesses, through tuition for school. So I know that they passed that a couple of years ago.
I think California is too.
Right, but it's not nowhere near enough states that have implemented it.
Not at all.
I mean, what do you do? What do you think a good reparations thing was? That's always been the question. Every time somebody asks, start talking about reparations, it's like,
you know what? I think that
reparations start. Is it
I don't believe there should be
taxes
money
like the Native Americans.
I don't think there should be money put in people's hands, because a lot of people look at the
put it right back into the people.
They don't know what to do with it. I think there should be some kind of structure that allows individuals to be able to open up small businesses, to receive funding for it, to receive funding for homes. Everybody should be in a home.
Let them create opportunities. It's not
create opportunity.
Zero taxes.
Create opportunity, and I guarantee you, if they create opportunity, a lot of Black people will go for it. They will do it. They will implement it.
But again, we have to make sure that if we start something, we have to finish it. It has to be sustained.
And that's
we
it.
cannot keep doing stuff
right there
and stopping and all of this stuff. I mean, in '67, King made another speech. They called it the 3 evils of society. Just quoting him, he says, "For those who are telling me to shut my mouth, I can't do that. I'm against segregation at lunch counters. I'm not going to segregate my moral concerns. And we must know on some positions, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right?"
Yeah.
There are times when you must take a stand that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but you must do it Why? Because it's right.
Yeah.
Strong words. Strong words.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was
I
listening.
mean,
Go ahead, Marcy.
Marcia was talking about education, going back to her touch on hers, and I'm gonna ask. Okay, so I said reparations. Now I'm gonna punch another button. Charter schools. How is y'all charter school program going there?
They are
As far
horrible.
as far as our culture is concerned, they're just
They
as
are
bad
not
as
teaching.
public.
They're not teaching the kids at any level to prepare them for financial,
For
to
anything.
prepare them for college. They're not prepared at all for it. I mean, I think they're a little bit safer than the public schools. You know, you're not being chased down with guns or jumped on or anything like that. I think it's a little safer, but as
Yeah.
far as the education, it's not there.
Flat, huh?
And you know what it all seems like is that what Martin Luther King is talking about is he's talking about that moralistic view of all of us having the same opportunity, all of us having the same equal right to be able to move around in this country without being harassed, bothered, or taken advantage of. That's the real big thing that needs to be focused on as well. You know, because when we start looking at the baseline for everything, it's all about opportunity. It's all about opportunity.
Quality.
When you have the scale on one end where white people can succeed more, and we have the other scale where black people have to try that much harder, just
Or
that
200
much
times.
harder, you know, just to make it. How come we just can't come right here where we can meet in the middle,
There's
or
too much
right where
black
we
and
can
white.
meet in a level playing field? You know what I mean? And that's all he was talking about. Just as plain as that, plain as day. He was talking about the moralistic views that white people have and against us to only make sure that their own people succeed and leave us behind.
It's crazy, man. I remember going to a Mayo Clinic a long time ago. I think I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And standing in line, my mother and my brother were there as well. Standing in line, and this little white boy looked up at me, and he said, "Hey, mommy, there's a nigger." Little white boy. His mother said, "What?" I know she heard him because he said it loud. "Mommy, there's a nigger." And then she looked around. I'm looking like, my father already told me about that word. It was about if a white person got you that word, bust them in their jaw. Okay. So she almost lost a little kid at that time. Okay? Having said that, man.
Well, I had some.
Well, let me say this real quick, man, and then we can move on. And by the way, Dope Living TV Live. Okay, we're talking about MLK Day, Martin Luther King, the reason for his existence and what it means to us today. One of the last, well, actually, the last speech that he gave was that mountaintop speech, and he did that in church, and it emphasized his beliefs on trying to bring us as African Americans together, and the importance of if we have protests, make it nonviolent. Okay, but the way that he brought that speech out, it was kind of prophetic, you know, because that was his last speech. And the next day, he was killed. Yeah. He said, and I quote this, "Well, I don't know what will happen now. We got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. Everybody, I'd like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. And I've seen the promised land. Now, I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land." And he ended it by saying, "I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." This is a man that was resolved to say, well, hey, he's done all he could. He knew, and I'm quite sure before this, he knew people were coming at him. All right. But he just, I mean, this is so prophetic because it was the day before he got killed.
He got killed, yeah.
He just knew it was, but he had done all that he could do. And he, as a man of God, he had seen, God had spoke to him. He'd seen what will happen. He's seen today. I said, okay, we still got work to do, but I've seen it. All right. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that we will get there. And we're here, you know. Look, come on, we're able to become president. We're able to do companies, jobs, and this and that. But my biggest problem is this:
Mhm.
with all of this stuff that's going on, we got multimillionaires. All right, okay.
And some
I'm nowhere.
billionaires.
I am nowhere near those. Okay, but I still give money. All right. These
It's
guys
true.
could change the black billionaires. I'm saying these guys could change the whole texture of everything that's going on. Okay, but they don't. They
That's
do
what I
it.
don't understand. That.
They do it for
All
themselves.
right.
They get the big houses, you know. They get the they keep making. There's no reason in the world there should be a billionaire in the United States. Period. There shouldn't be a billionaire. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
You know, make your money and this and that. Okay, but when you get to a certain level, start giving it back to and bring somebody
Mhm.
else up. Okay, help somebody
Mhm.
else become a millionaire. You know, we're put on this earth. Okay, and when we make it to a certain stature that God has allowed us to get to, we are supposed to go
Well,
back and bring some.
obligated to.
Mhm.
We got well,
Mhm.
that's what we're charged to do, help each
Yeah.
other, and we as black people do not do that. Period.
No,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that because we had to fight. Whenever you have an oppressed people and they always had to fight for what they had to obtain, once you finally get it, it's like a sense of ownership. It's like you finally buying that caddy. You work your whole life to get that caddy, and you know what? I ain't selling it. Ain't nobody. If somebody try to rob me for that caddy, they gonna get the Glock sent to them. You know what I mean? Because
Don't
it's
get
about
lead poison.
there you go, exactly, man. Because it's about what you fought for, what you worked for, and you want that
Yeah.
ownership. You don't want
But
nobody else to have a piece of it or nothing.
but some of us, for some reason, think, meaning the black community, that once we
Mhm.
make it, that we're on equal playing field and level
With
with people
whites.
of other
That's
races,
true.
Hmm.
That's true.
and that's not true at all. Because
Mhm.
with, regardless, if they're gonna look at you, they're gonna still look at you, regardless of whether you have what they have.
Mhm.
As far as they're concerned, it's not as good as what they have, and they're going to still try to bring you
I
down.
always tell you
What can
somebody
we do
gave it
to
to you.
destroy you? What can we do to destroy you? What did
Mhm.
you do illegal to get what you have? And the thing
Exactly.
is, a lot of times it's like, wait a minute, turn that mirror around.
That's
Let me
right.
look
Look
at
at yourself.
you. Look in here. What did you do that was illegal? Whose head did you have to step on and shoulders to get where you had to go?
Yeah.
Did your
Mhm.
daddy, like, well, why don't you guys have houses? A lot of us are still, working class. Our families are working class people. We don't have daddy and mommy and granddaddy to, when you get married, oh, here's a whole house paid for,
Or
or
here's 20
here's
acres.
half,
Mhm.
here's your land, and here's that. And like Jeff said, we have to work for it. But we need to remember and not be like crabs, like trying to pull each other down.
Mhm.
Or once we get there, like Greg said, turn around, reach back.
And grab.
God blesses us to be a blessing to others.
Mhm.
That's
And
right.
that's something that we need to start doing more of.
Can you imagine if King had lived another 20 years?
Right.
Man,
Oh, man.
that would have been deep.
Yeah, buddy.
So that
That
puts him
that
at like
that would
like
have
in
been
the
a
80s
game changer.
doing crack.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'd be
That would have
straight.
been a game changer.
We'd be
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
Think
That's
about it,
wild.
and you think about it and you smile, man. Okay, a lot of us back in that time, we did consider Martin Luther King Jr. as a hero.
Right.
Um, but do you think he's still considered a hero now?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
I
Oh yeah.
believe so. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Even to some whites, believe it or not. I
Mhm.
mean, like even
Mhm.
back in the day, it wasn't all us on the lines. It was
Right.
some
Yeah,
white
there was
folks
some
Yep.
white
too.
people
There are
out
a
there
lot of
too.
white
Who
people. Yeah.
believed in equality.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they
Mm-hmm.
got
Mhm.
tired of being blamed, and that's what I go back to what I was saying earlier. When you get tired of being blamed for something you didn't do, then do something about it. That's what I used to tell my white friends. You know, you closing your mouth, that don't mean nothing to me.
Mhm.
Do something
Mm-mm.
about it. You
That's
know,
when you know who your true friends are.
yeah,
When you're really going through and they're sitting
Mhm.
back silent.
yeah. Do something
Mm-mm.
Definitely.
about it. I got some white friends that go to a dog fight with me. You know what I mean? I don't mean a literal dog fight. I mean a political one. Easy.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
But
Then I got
we'll,
some white friends that claim to be friends. I'm sorry. Those are the ones that claim to be friends. that wouldn't go around the corner with me.
But were those people? Well, the when you
Wouldn't
had
even come to my house. Shoot.
when you had those white friends and this and that, how do you think the other African Americans, the other black people, look at you when you have these white friends?
I don't care.
Well, I
Don't
can
bother
say
me.
this. When I attended Ball State, and I didn't know that the dorms were segregated. So
Wow.
my dorm, I was in a dorm that had blacks and whites. I remember one day going to the lunchroom, and this young lady, black young lady, came up to me and she said, "Oh, you not one of us, huh? You over there with the white people. You too good to stay in the black dorms?"
I didn't have to happen to me.
Wow.
And I was standing there like, what are you talking about? Like, I did. First of all, I
Where's your
probably
brain
would
at?
have chose what I chose anyway,
Right.
but I had no idea that the dorms were segregated like that. But I had black and white friends,
But you
and
know,
I was not going to separate myself from my white friends because this group over here felt like all the black people supposed to be over here.
I don't know about y'all, but didn't you see did you see that Gary might have segregated itself in its neighborhoods, its education, stores, and all that stuff like into the 70s?
How
You
did
know,
how?
a white flight.
Oh, that came from U.S. Steel, though. That came from the steel mill shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
Once that steel mill shut down, all the stores closed. There was white flight. There was nothing left in Gary. That's where everybody went to work when they graduated from high school. Was U.S.
Yeah,
Steel, and once that folded, Gary became
that's
a
it.
ghost town.
It's so crazy. I think about how some of the bios that I see on Gary on the internet now. They show it before, then they show it after. They always show a bunch of white folks. You know, they don't show blacks. They don't show blacks progress unless y'all took a look at that. It's Nation Time documentary I sent about Gary and them having a black convention there back in '72.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that Democratic convention.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a black convention. I don't think it was Democratic.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they had some of everybody there. That was like a big signal to a lot of folks in '72 that Gary was rocking. I mean, had the
I
first
just
black
wanna-
mayor and a whole bunch of other things going
But
on.
if you think about it back then, Maurice, there were a lot of neighborhoods that blacks didn't live in. We didn't live in Glen Park.
Well, yeah,
Horseman,
We
Yeah,
didn't live
that's what I'm
we didn't
saying.
live on the east side of Gary.
the
There
Horseman
were certain
area.
neighborhoods that we lived in, and there were majority of neighborhoods that there were no blacks living in.
Segregation is what I'm talking about.
And I remember riding up Ridge Road with my mom and looking at those houses up there on
Yeah,
that hill and thinking, I'm gonna get me one of those houses when I get older, when I grow up.
You can
And
buy
guess
one.
what?
You can buy one for $25.
The
man.
blacks moved out there, the whites moved
probably
out
free if you
further.
stay.
First it was Maryville, then we started infiltrating Maryville. They moved even further. Now it's Crown Point,
Wow.
and we coming out there too. So now they moving out to St. John.
Yep.
Portage,
Wow.
Chesterton, Valpo.
Don't say it like it's bad. I was just looking in St. John for hours.
Oh, I got a coworker that lives out there, and she moved
nice.
from Chicago to St. John, and she said the first 2 weeks she lived there, the police stopped her every day. They were going to take her to jail because they did not believe that was her house. She had not changed her.
Did she get a lawyer?
No, she called her brother, who had a friend that was a state trooper, that kept her from going to jail because
He
they
lost
had
his job.
handcuffs on her.
So
that's
She
wild.
had never
Yeah.
changed
wild.
over her ID for Indiana, from Illinois to Indiana, and they did not believe she lived where she lived, and she said she don't like it. She said, I don't like it out there. She said,
But that
it's
just
so
that just
prejudiced.
goes to just say, man, we could walk around with a Brooks Brothers suit on, a nice dress, whatever.
Don't matter.
Have a briefcase, really well clean shaven, nice haircut and everything, and they still gonna come at us. Okay,
My neighbors put up a fence
we're
to
still
divide her,
considered
to keep divide their house from hers.
in their community. And see, the resurgence of all of that negativity came from
Trump.
Trump came in office. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything bad about Trump himself. Okay, but he wasn't for the people as a whole.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Well,
And to his defense, and I'm going to say this. Don't do that. The man. I mean, let's keep it
I
100.
was reading up on
We
him today. I'm
really,
getting pissed off.
we really
This
don't
must still
know.
spewing his mouth off.
We really don't know what Trump could have
Mother.
done because immediately he was put on defense, and that's all he did in his whole term was stay on defense.
This
He
is
wanted to
true.
keep his name right. Okay, what could he have done? Okay, I mean we don't know because some black people liked him. So
Yeah.
I know some.
I know a
what
lot of them.
I know
I
what
some.
know. I know
what
something
could he
too.
have done? What could he have done?
Well, you
Would I,
know what?
would I vote for him again? No, I wouldn't.
It's
But
all in your deliverance. If he had came in a way that he made us feel like he had our best
Mhm.
interest at heart, I think we would have opened up to him. But
Right.
it was more of like, black folks getting beat down, and he's saying that we were, living like dogs and animals in Chicago and things like that.
Well,
We
yeah.
didn't feel like he had our best interest,
He just
so
didn't know how to
we
say it.
weren't going to be on board with him.
Oh,
And
no, I
like
agree
I
totally.
think
Not
I
at
said
all.
I think I said this once before about Trump. First of all, he ain't even close to our world. So and he don't have no kind of way to look at it good any kind of way because his parents never looked at blacks good. None
Yeah.
of them. They looked down on us. They used us. They abused us. Took our money and everything. Everything from the casinos to the real estate, and then didn't want us to stay in none of the real estate. They got sued for not letting blacks into their real estate.
So let me ask
So I
you this.
mean, it's Trump. He can't look at the way life the way a Biden can because his parents worked for their lives. That's
Well,
another reason to turn folks on.
that bad will
Or
come. The bad will come to the head, man. But let me ask you guys this. So, and it's MLK Day. He finally has a day, and they threw us Black History Month, which is the shortest month of the year. All right. But by the way, man, I encourage everybody that's on this panel, and everybody out there, to join us next month so that we can not only celebrate Black history, but we want to celebrate those people that are making history
thanks.
now. All right. If
Mhm.
you got friends that are doing some great things, we're going to take a moment every day to celebrate somebody who's doing something big. Okay, next month. All right, as well as talk about some of the other Black history moments and things of that nature. But let me ask you guys this: so as we celebrate Martin Luther King Day, and we understand what he did and why he died for the cause. Do you all and in his speech he also said he has a dream. I have a dream. And do you all think that his dream was fulfilled, or is it still being deferred?
Oh,
I believe it's
Deferred.
still
I
being
think it's being
deferred.
deferred. Mm-hmm.
I think
definitely not fulfilled.
not fulfilled.
Well, there's some things that have, look, like I said again, we're able to be amongst white people, which we weren't able to do, a long time ago.
Now, if he was
So
looking for desegregation,
mhm,
if the fight was just desegregation, okay, we got that. You know what I mean?
we get
But
great jobs.
yeah, we able to get good
We're
jobs.
being
Now,
educated.
it's still within a limit though,
Yeah.
That's what I'm
because
going to say.
there's still some discrimination that goes and discrepancies with pay and everything like that, depending on where you work. And I know it was a white guy who did something with Google. He said he looked into it and he said Google does not really have, they only hired like 2 or 3 minority workers. And they put out a study saying that they are for minority workers and they didn't hire that many of them. You know what I mean? So, in terms of the workforce and having our people being already qualified to get these high ranking positions, it's kind of like they only do it for because how many they say you got to have in a company? It's got to
Yeah,
be a certain ratio
right.
that you got
Right.
to have within your
Yeah.
company. And
You know what, Jeff? Would you really want a job where they're picking you up for a ratio? I don't think so. I
I
mean, and
wouldn't.
most
I'm
people
gonna
that
tell
I
you this
know.
though, Maurice. I'm gonna tell you this.
But I would take-
I was always the only black guy
Me too.
working on at
Oh
least 2
man.
of my jobs, and it was the smaller, like mom pop, like jobs, like where it was like more family oriented, more like okay, I can see the owners every day. that type of stuff. I was the only black guy, and I knew I
Yeah.
was there for logistics. I ain't gonna lie, I knew I was there for logistics. I knew
Look,
I was, but
look,
I
Jeff, I'm
took
gonna
in
check
all that information though.
the stuff that I'm doing right now. I was the only brother in this for years, 10, 15 years. And you know, in this business because of the big background check that you got to go through. You have to go through a federal background check. You got to be bondable, and you know, and it's 7 years straight background check. Can't have no D's or F's on your report card, no drugs or felonies. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff that you have to have, and I have tried to pick up some brothers, some younger brothers, so I could, you
Yeah,
know, kind of chill back a little. They can't pass that criteria,
yeah.
you know. Some
And I
brothers
will
that I
say,
know that could do the job, that I know they got the mentality to do the
yeah,
job, but because of what they've done back, you know, ain't been scrubbed off their record.
But you
You
know
know?
what? Even with King's progress with segregation in schools, there was still a loophole that was found, and that was the gifted program.
Yeah.
That's where they
exactly. Yep.
found the loophole because they figure the white kids will be able to get into that program and the black kids would not. But if it backfired on them because there were more black kids in the gifted program than there were white kids.
Yeah.
And so
And
that's where the loophole fell with segregation in schools. Even though it looked like, okay, we got all the kids in the school together, they still came up with a back door.
well, you know, if these people would just stop cheating, stop cutting across, you know, this country would be a better place. But you know, it ain't going to happen overnight. What we could do is continue to surge forward and let them know, hey, we just want a fair shake like everybody else. Ain't nobody trying to put you out in the field, but act a donkey, you might get kicked in the butt. So,
Which takes it from the nonviolence. It
Hey.
takes it back to the violence.
well, I'm saying if somebody come and crack you across the head, you're gonna crack them back.
Oh,
you know?
I'm down for, you know, for I said I wasn't gonna tell jokes today, so let me stop.
But you
Well,
know,
Because what's very
you know,
interesting about the whole nonviolent thing, though, is the
Yeah.
fact that violence always has to be inflicted upon us in order to make a move.
Yep.
And then in turn, we believe that turning the other. Now, I get it. I do get it. That is that
To a
you
point.
don't want to be violent, but I see how you look at my son. I see how you looking, girl. But I'm just saying, you know, because 9 times out of 10, if the shoe was on the other foot, and we
Oh,
know this, if the
shoot.
shoe was on the other foot,
We'll be getting shot.
them people
hanged.
be kicking, scraping, bruising us the whole 9. But I'm telling you, can't nobody tell me that black people ain't some of the most loving, forgiving,
Patient.
patient people.
yes.
Oh yes, Lord. Yeah.
I'm telling you, because it's like, yo, and that just blows my mind, you know, because when somebody can sit up here, they can cold cut punch you in the stomach, and somebody like, dog, don't do it, don't do it. You know what I mean?
I'm going to
That
jail.
Because
Yeah,
we know the consequence behind us doing something else.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
death or jail. Okay,
Yeah.
and jail for a long time. Okay,
Yeah.
It's so funny that a white guy can go to jail for possession of narcotics for a day or two. You know what I mean? And if a black man has it, he faces 40 years. He faces 40 years. So it's and your life is ruined. A white, he'll be able to get over it. You know?
Exactly.
Pretty much fight your whole life to try to get it exonerated and stuff. But going back to Martin Luther King, you know, how he wanted for education. We're still fighting when it come down to the different states with funding, funneling those down to the schools that are predominantly Black, Hispanic, because they're not getting the proper funding. And then if you start going to some of these schools, look at the books. They're ancient. They don't even have up-to-date information in there. And like Gina said, once they get to college, they're so far behind. It's like, you know, and that can be depressing for a young person off to school by themselves for the first time. They're excited, and then they're going there, and they have no clue in the freshman classes of college because they didn't get the proper education.
It was for me, and it was very discouraging because I was an honor student all through high school, and when I got to college, I thought I was going to be just as smart there, and I made straight F's. And it was very discouraging you know,
Mhm.
thinking
See
you're
that?
gonna come in there and you're gonna, you know, take the
Mhm.
world by the reins like you've
Mhm.
been doing. I was nowhere up to par
Yeah.
when I got to Ball State.
Mm-hmm. And
Well,
then
let's remember this too.
when we talk about the decent wages, you know, you might get hired at a decent you know, wage or whatever, but then once you're in there, you're working your butt off, you're there every day, you're doing what you're supposed to
Mhm.
do, you probably have the skills and the education, but then when it starts coming to promotions, you're
Mm.
looked over, and it's
Mhm.
something dumb, you know, and
Mhm.
minor. And this person, like you might have done one thing, but this person done so many things and not coming to work. I've seen this from, you know, where I've worked at, and they're still being promoted, and you're sitting there. So then you start getting discouraged. It's like,
Hmm.
you know, like, okay, and oh, but you were hired, you're making a good wage. You know, you hear people, you know, well, just be
Mhm.
happy with where you are, and that's not true to us, to your being true to yourself, and it's not fair. So a lot of the things that Martin Luther King was out here and marching for, to me, we're still fighting for some of the same things,
Yeah.
Mhm.
a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And this does not make sense in a country that says they call themselves United
Yeah.
States of
Mhm.
America, because we are not united,
Nowhere
Not by
near.
a long shot.
not at all.
Exactly.
There.
Exactly.
How can you even say that?
Huh?
Nowhere near. No, I'm saying nowhere near. We were
He's
nowhere near.
agreeing.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
not at all.
I wasn't
Now I
disagreeing.
want to say this.
Uh,
Didn't he also go back and say that if there was a way, didn't he go back and say that he would not have? I'm just kind of paraphrasing this. Didn't he go back and say that he kind of wish he would never fought so hard for segregation?
Right.
Okay, because I want to touch on this real quick, because I kind of believe that a man would not say that unless he knew that excuse me, gosh, my throat, I'm sorry about that. Unless he knew the value of, see, everything that we talking about the education, we talking about the jobs, we talking about everything to that
Housing.
nature, housing, all of that, is he knew that black folk could do it on their own. Now to be integrated into a system that is now not for us, but against us. So now if we enter into a system that's against us, now we can't have different laws passed to still keep us down.
Right.
Different things can happen, so they could be like, all right, well, now, okay, we can find these different ways to keep these Negroes back from really getting to where they want to go. But if we would have stayed separate and we would have actually took the time to do things on our own, we probably still would have got shut down. But I think that would have been some more leverage for us to actually keep going, you know? And nowadays, we actually can do a lot more. It's a lot I want to tell y'all once we get done. But it's
So,
man, because it's
which is
oh,
which is what we're getting ready to do in a second. So I want you guys to just go around, starting with you, Maurice. Just hear your final thought about MLK Day and everything that we talked about.
I think there's definitely need to be an expansion on MLK Day. When I mean expansion, it's education. In schools, it's really lacking. I can remember me going to Brunswick for the first time. I was at kindergarten, and I remember was so freaking poignant in my life. We were all there, and we were young. I mean, 5, 6 years old. You know, some of them were 6. I was 5. But in school, and they were showing us movies about slaves, and then it was all over. We all on the recreation, out there during during break time, and then a little white boy called me a nigga, and he got slapped. Because my people owned your people. It was the wrong type of. It was They were trying to educate whites and the children about what happened back then, that history, but it went the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there needs to be education, just like Marcia said. We need
Okay,
to have a whole lot more education about this.
so
Okay, I just want to say, you know, continue to be out there, educate yourself, your families, your communities. And I want to quote something that Martin Luther King said. And it says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Stop being silent, speak out, speak up, and unite.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jeff?
I just want to say that as we reflect on today and what Martin Luther King wanted us to do, maximize it. Don't just look at what happened back then and say, okay, now I kind of feel that we where we need to be. No, the work is never done. There's still a lot more things that need to happen. So instead of, like I said earlier, instead of talking, using that mouth, go ahead and put some work on it and put some action behind your hands and start creating and building some things. So if you want to see change, go out there and create the change that you want to see.
Mhm.
That's good.
Oh, you know what? The work is not done. Even though we haven't moved as far as we want to be, I believe that there is going to be some pioneers to pick up and keep pushing. If you listen to the news, they have stated that there have been more small businesses open last year in 2021 than there ever have been. And that's one of the reasons that the unemployment rate has dropped, because people are not working for other folks. They are starting their own businesses, and
Great resignation.
they are moving forward in a way that we are now starting to grasp that. And so I don't think it's dead in the water. I believe it's going to continue. And I think this is a good time for African Americans, 2021 and forward. I think that there is going to be a lot of changes. I look at the movies that now have black characters that we never thought would be in there, the Marvel comics and all of those different movies. And now the cast are all black, or the major cast is black African Americans. I also want to make sure that everyone, I want to communicate that we will have Distinguished Arthur Guild's authors on next week. We'll have Savannah Farr on Wednesday, the 19th, for our spoken word. We'll have Michelle Kane on Monday, January 24th. Don Gregory on Monday, January 24th. Danny Smith, who will be on Tuesday, the 25th. Natalie Murphy, Tuesday, the 25th. And then we'll also have Clara Fleming on Thursday, the 27th. Michelle Cox, Thursday, the 27th. Kevin McLemore, Thursday the 27th, and we'll also have T. Hubbard and Zanette Kamal. And these are all authors, African American authors, who have done great things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sounds
You know,
good.
real quick, I wanted to just say, it took 15 years after Martin Luther King died to honor his legacy. This great man who fought for equal rights. It took 15 years to get that done. Martin Luther King he symbolized what was right about America and what was America at its best. He loved unconditionally. He was in pursuit of the truth. He wanted to make sure that everybody saw the truth and that we had an opportunity to live in truth. And when he found it, he embraced it and created a movement behind it. He believed in nonviolence, and those moments that he spoke, it brought about a way to make us think about where we're at and what we can do, and justice for us. All right. He taught us that only peaceful means can bring about peaceful ends, and that our goal was to create a loving community. So today on Dope Living TV Live, we want to celebrate the day. This isn't his birthday. We want to celebrate the day that they gave him to commemorate the holiday of MLK, Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
We should celebrate all the time, because there's things that we can do or have done that deserves a celebration. But my charge is to make sure that we celebrate each other. We make sure that we hold everybody up, man. Amina says today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today we recognize a man who stood up for equality and fought for everyone. We will never forget you.
Absolutely, Mina.
Yes, yes.
That's
We're not
right.
supposed to forget, and we're not supposed to. I think we do a lot of reacting Now, let's not react, man. Let's formulate a plan. Will we see? I may not ever see it in my lifetime, all right. But you know what? I know what it can be. We all know what it can be, and even though we put ourselves, even on this panel, in positions where a lot of the stuff that goes on, a lot of the noise out there does not affect us, but it affects people that we love. It affects people that we deal with every day, and we still have to own that, because we all, at the end of the day, if there was a race riot to break out right now, I don't care how much we think we have and how great we think we are, we're Black. They're on the other side, okay? So we have to continuously embrace each other. Let's start supporting one another, all right? And let's make sure that the dream is not a deferred dream, okay? That the dream becomes reality totally, all right? And how do we do that? We gotta keep talking about it, all right? Tomorrow we will see you guys talk about relationships and all of that nasty stuff.
With not no interrupt.
Look, you said get that out of my mouth. Like, whoa.
What's nasty about it?
No
Probably
interrupt.
something he wants to talk about.
If your man, no, I ain't gonna do it. You'll see it on the post.
I'm gonna wait till the post. Yeah.
We wanna thank you guys. Continue to celebrate, okay? And don't forget, Black History Month is coming up in February. You got 28 days, okay? I got about 45 people I want to celebrate, man, and I want each and every person on this panel to celebrate their people as well. Past, present, future. Let's celebrate them all, all right? But don't forget that, you know, as Black people, we are history. We created history. We got a lot of history to make, okay? This is Dope Living TV Live. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.
Good night.
I'm not ready.
Uh,
I do this every doggone time. But anyway, again, thank you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, all right? Peace.